is an old surfboard fin. I'm gonna glass on this fin to this surfboard and show you guys how it's done. First thing I'm gonna do is clamp the fin onto something stable. I'm just gonna draw a line along the base of the fin where I want to cut it off so I don't mess it up. Since I've completely neglected my bandsaw and left it outside in the rain for like 2 years, I'm gonna use my jigsaw to cut the base off of the fin. I need to add a little bit of curve in here so that it fits nice and flat on the bottom rocker of the surfboard.
I'm using my 8-inch wheel, my Makita polisher, and you could use sandpaper with a sanding block. You could use a file or pretty much anything else to get this done.
Pretty close. You can see we still need to take some out right here so it sits flat on the board. Now that I cut off the base and shaped the bottom to the curve of the rocker on the tail of the board, I'm going to customize the fin for my wife surfing and her size and everything like that, so I need to make this thing a little bit smaller. So one important step when making a glass-on fin for your surfboard is to scratch the crap out of it. So I take 60 grit and sand the whole thing, or 80 grit, before you do the glassing, because abrasion equals adhesion. Now I'm going to mark where I'm going to put the fin on the surfboard with a little piece of tape. It's important to get this placement right, because once you put it on the surfboard, you're not going to be able to move it. Now I'm going to cut some 6-ounce so we can make our patches for the fin. I cut some pretty big chunks so that I can fit the whole fin on there. So what we're gonna want is a basic outline of the fin with about 2 inches or maybe 1.5 inches around the actual perimeter of the fin, and then down here at the bottom where the base is gonna be, we're gonna want maybe 3.5 or 4 inches, just a big area to go onto the board so the fin has strength so it doesn't just snap and fall over. That is approximately what it should look like when you cut out all your glass. Now I'm going to cut some ovals out of the scrap that are going to go right around the base of the fin, add a little bit more strength. This is fin rope. I'm going to make a bunch of layers of this together so I have one thick strand to lay along the base of the fin. And I'll soak this all at once in resin, lay that out first, and then I'm going to make another more thin strand that's going to go around the outside of the fin. So these are for the base of the fin. You can see they're really thick. I put probably like maybe 6 layers or 4 layers, I don't remember, of the fin rope all together, and I tied it up. What I'll do is dunk this in the resin, put it on there, and cut it.
This is awesome.
Some people use super glue. I like to use hot glue because if you mess it up, you can rip it off really easily. But all I'm going to do is put a bead of hot glue on the bottom, stick it on there, and try and get it as straight as possible. And you have about 10 seconds to do it.
Thanks for making it this far in the video. Today my clothing line with Kaiten just launched, and we got some t-shirts, got some socks that you can freaking rip down some mountains on. Some more t-shirts and trunks. We got trunks so that next time you go to the beach you look freaking sick, dude. Go check it out on the Kaiten website today. Link is in the description below.
We are back approximately 2 weeks later. I just ripped off the fin and glued it back on because I put it in a bad spot before, and like I said, you have to do it right because you'll never be able to move it again. So what I'm going to do is put on 2 sets of gloves. So I have 1 set on now. I'm going to put on a second set so that when I do the fin rope, which I'm going to do first, I can rip this set off and have a fresh set to work with, so I won't have a whole bunch of resin dripping off my hands, making it more difficult to work. So I have my things laid out in order of importance. First I have my fin rope to go around the base of the fin. My 2 little oval patches also to go around the base of the fin. I have the fin rope that's going to go around the whole outside of the fin. I just mixed my resin. Now I'm going to start with the fin rope that's going to go on the base. Just dunk it in there, get it all saturated, and pull it out. Get the excess resin off with your fingers, and then make sure it's saturated. Then you take your poor scissors, lay it down on there, pull it out, and then snip. Definitely want to use pretty good scissors to do this, or it's gonna not work. This stuff is pretty strong. Now we're gonna do the same exact thing on the other side. Make sure it's all up against the base of the fin. And 1, 2. There we go. Everything you have to do pretty quick. I didn't add too much catalyst to the resin so that I'd have a little bit more time, but this stuff can still kick on you before you expect it. So don't take your time. Now that I got one saturated, I'm gonna peel it off. And I'll come over here and lay it up right on the base. Get the air bubbles out and kind of shape the fin rope nice and smooth. And we're gonna do the next one. Same laminating resin that you're gonna use for laminating your board is what you're gonna use for doing this. Now, same thing on the other side. Make sure my fin rope is in a decent position. Now smooth it out. And about 10 seconds ago I decided I'm not gonna put the other fin rope on around here because it's a glass fin and I'm just probably gonna end up sanding through it anyways. And I don't have that much time. So now, this is why I wear 2 pairs of gloves, is so that I can pull one off and keep working with a fresh pair. And it makes everything a lot easier. So we got 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3. So I'm taking 3 layers of 6 ounce. I'm laying them all down on this little piece of paper that I set up. Gonna make sure they're all organized and straight. I'm gonna dump a bunch of resin on there and start working the resin in quickly so that I can get it all nice and saturated. You want to get quite a bit of resin into your cloth before you put it up on the board so that you can have some extra when it's up there. That way you can work it around and get everything not full of air bubbles. So I pull it all off, come over, start at the top so I know about where it's going to be, and then kind of drape it down onto the bottom. Now I'll take my squeegee out the bottom, get those air bubbles out, and then I'll bring it up, get the air bubbles out here. Doesn't need to be perfect the first time because I'm going to come back and touch it up in a second. Now we're doing the exact same thing to the other side. Glob a bunch of resin on there, start working it in with your squeegee. You'll know when all of the resin is into the cloth once the cloth becomes really clear and you see whatever the working surface is underneath of the cloth. Before it's worked in, it'll be white and dry, and then once it's worked in, it'll be clear. Pretty clear at least.
So when you're picking up your cloth, you have to be real careful because it's a 2-directional cloth, and if you pull it too hard from one angle, it'll totally misshape everything, and it's not good.
And look at that. We have a fin. So the reason why I did this glass on fin is not because I think it performs better than a box, which I don't know if there's really a scientific or empirical way of measuring that. But I just did it because for me it's easier than doing a box because I don't have my own router here. I have done glass on fins like this for a long time. This is kind of how I grew up doing it because I didn't have a router or a jig, and so I just make all my fins out of plywood and glass them on, and that was just the easiest thing for me. For you guys, if you are doing a board at home and you do not have a jig or a router to do futures boxes or whatever, then this is a great option because you could semi-easily make your own fin and then you could semi-easily glass it on for yourself. It definitely takes some skill and some learning to do it right, but after a couple times, it's really not all that difficult. And it looks nice. So after about 40 minutes, you can see it's pretty much dry. It's still, you know, you can still move it around. I'm gonna take a brand new razor blade, which is important because it needs to be very, very sharp. And I'm gonna take off the wrapper, and I'm gonna start at the front. So you guys remember how I said earlier I wasn't gonna put in the fin rope around it? That's why there's this huge air bubble here. But I don't really care because I'm gonna do this. Whee! So now that I started at the front, I'm gonna go ahead, flip this around my fingers, and start at the back. Pull it up. You can kind of bend your razor blade to get it to where you want it, and then just lightly drag it along the outside. As you can see, I left extra cloth and fin rope down on both sides. I'm going to leave that until I sand it later, which is going to allow me to really dial in where I want everything to go and how I want it to look. So after you've gotten this far, what you're going to want to do is wait for it to dry completely, at least a couple of hours, at very least. I would let it sit for a day, and then you can take your gas tool vroom vroom thing and get that all, shape that all to the way you like it. And then I will do like a small hot coat. I'll kind of do like a hot coat patch and sand it first and get everything kind of dialed into where I want it before I even do the first hot coat. That way when I do my gloss coat, everything's going to be smoothed out already, and I'm not going to have to worry about a big bump or some ugly thing back there. Let me know if you guys have any questions of things that I missed, because I'm sure I did this video, and it's good to see you guys. We'll be doing more glassing stuff soon. Yeah, thank you.